no offense to your buddy that just grew some super dank something or other and showed up and say, you have to be disciplined about what you buy, when you buy, how much you buy, and you need to use data to do it.
Welcome to How to Flourish in Cannabis. I'm your host, Brian Weber. How to Flourish in Cannabis is a bi-weekly educational focused show with experienced leaders in regulated cannabis. Our guests have a wide range of industry experience in law, insurance, real estate, and today, an expert in cannabis supply chain technology. Our guests are asked to give general educational knowledge on a subject matter they're experts in. No pitches here. This is designed to be a masterclass in regulated cannabis. Many operators fail for lack of proper education and guidance in operating a highly regulated, capital-intensive business. How to Flourish in Cannabis is our effort to elevate and educate. Today's show is really interesting. It's a big problem in this industry, and as this industry matures and as the tech matures, some of these problems are getting solved today. But today's topic is 5 things to profitably manage cannabis dispensary inventory. Tim Schmitt is CTO of 240 Logistics, is a tech pioneer with a bachelor's in computer engineering from the University of Illinois and an MBA from CTO Academy in London. Tim's diverse career spans Fortune 50, dot-com startup, and family business roles. With a background in technology and a passion for business process improvement, Tim spearheads innovation in the highly regulated cannabis supply chain industry, notably with the first of its kind flywheel technology, providing tailored data and tools for optimizing operations, including inventory alerts, AI-driven sales forecasts, and auto replenishment. Beyond work, he's a dedicated father, coach, and community volunteer involved in various initiatives like scuba diving for the Shed Aquarium and volunteering for Feed My Starving Children. Tim, you're just such a good man. I'm so grateful to have you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. We just volunteered with Feed My Starving Children this week.
That's a noble effort to teach giving back, especially at it shouldn't be a noble effort, but it is a great thing to instill very young with kids about giving.
It's my most important job, 100%.
Yeah, and coming from a family of bakers, I'm assuming the feeding is just part of your DNA, right?
Yeah, we break bread. Food's an important part of life, naturally. So
it is a very important part of life. Well, good for you. Good for you for doing that. And actually, thank you for the tech that you're bringing to this industry. And really, it's just the knowledge that comes there to better order. Again, today's subject: 5 things to profitably manage cannabis dispensary inventory. And last show we had on Adam Kavanaugh from the Cannabis Credit Association. And one of the things that he talked about was either over ordering or not ordering right, or, you got all this inventory that's stale on your shelves and it's capital that's just sitting there. It's misallocated capital and it's just a mess. And when you're dealing with a dispensary and margins are tight and there's a bunch of SKUs, there's some seasonality, there's some velocity plays with all this, and you're dealing with staff that probably has 6 other jobs that they're dealing with, it's a lot to manage.
It really is. Yeah, it's daunting. Yeah, no doubt. Retail in general is hard. I mean, it's hard no matter what industry you're in. All this AI stuff that's coming out, it doesn't make it necessarily any easier. Like, it's tough to remain competitive, especially in some of these more loosely regulated markets like in Oklahoma or in Oregon, where you have dispensaries literally on top of each other. How do you differentiate yourself? How do you remain competitive? How do you run an effective and efficient business so you can stay in business, keep paying your bills, those things? It's hard. I'm very honored to be able to come out here and try to help solutions and help provide solutions that make a difference. And that's kind of what gets me up every day.
We're happy to be partners with you guys. But, today, there's a lot of data in the industry, but it's getting to those actionable items of I need you to present me some answers. So what we're going to go over today are some just general best practices. So even if you don't have advanced tech enabled in your dispensary right now, here's some things we can do, and then some potential add-ons of things that you might be able to do to take it to the next level. So let's kick it off with number 1. What is a number 1 thing you can do in a dispensary to profitably manage your inventory?
I've got my propeller hat on, and I'm a tech geek at heart, but I will tell you, the data is so important. And so keeping your data clean and organized is like the number one thing. You need to rely on data to make decisions. If you're not doing it today, you should start. It's garbage in, it's garbage out. Everybody's heard that. Everybody knows that. Do something about it, right? And it means you got to take a little extra time to set those things up properly. When there's a field and the field says, what's the subcategory or what's the cost for this item? Like, do it and put it in and do it accurately. So create some SOPs around that, work with your team, and you don't have to go 100%, but find the things that make the difference and make it consistent across your team. And having good SOPs and process around that will outlive and survive any kind of attrition or turnover that you have between staff. That's going to be really important for you to be able to do anything else that we're going to talk about later.
A good naming convention, categories, subcategories. We want to know where these things live.
I know Flourish has a recommended naming convention. We have one as well. You can have your own, but pick it, be consistent with it, and watch how that starts to unlock other avenues for you, for sure.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned actually putting in costs, because in most industries, you would just think that is a natural thing that would just be there.
It's surprising how much people, overlook those things. And it's the things that for me, that I kind of took for granted, right? When I stepped into this space three years ago, this May, you do those things, right? Like I come from family business, I come from Fortune 50, like all of that stuff is just, it's done, it's there, and it's sort of table stakes. And to walk into a place and go, wow, like all of this disparate data, none of it makes sense. All of it is a mess. People are literally just making things up as they go. And not only do you lose the efficiency, it actually starts to hamstring you. And you're gonna struggle to perform. You're gonna struggle to compete. So do yourself that favor. You don't have to be a data analyst. You don't have to be a data engineer, but create those processes. Those things are there for a reason. Reach out to your point of sale vendor. They'll be happy to help you. Like reach out to Dutchie, reach out to Trees, whatever you use, or a partner, and put that information in. Retail. Yeah, and I'll say one more thing on this, Brian, too. Like I see this in Oregon, where we own and operate a wholesaler there by the name of Farmers Market. We'll walk into dispensaries. You got to show your ID when you go in, right? Like that's the law. Like you got to prove that you're of age in whatever regulations those are in those markets. I'll watch a retailer, even an owner of a retail shop, grab my ID, look at it, and be like, awesome. What do you want to buy? And I'm like, wait a minute, dude. I just gave you my ID. Like, why aren't you scanning my ID and putting it in your system so that Tim Schmitt, he's 47 years old, he's out of state, or he's in state and he lives in my neighborhood. Like, you're missing out on all that demographic data. How about you market that? How about you use that and leverage that? Like, all of the point of sale systems make that pretty easy. I know, like the Dutchies of the world and stuff, you scan the ID, it's in your system. Now you got loyalty. Now you understand your demos, all that kind of stuff.
Purchase history, all that stuff, preferences you can set in there. Yep.
Do it, right? Costs. Know your customers, right? These are like basic things. And I don't mean to be like hard on anybody. And I realize like you said that you led off with, yeah, everybody's wearing 6 hats. Like it's hard. It's a pain in the ass. I don't take that for granted. I don't envy, anybody in there. It's really hard work. But help yourself. These things will pay dividends. Do that work and watch what happens.
At the end of the day, you got to know how much money you're making. That's why you can't serve anybody. Even if your mission is like compassionate care, you can't serve anybody if you're not making money. Those are good things. So keep your data clean and organized, people. Say it again. It's not table stakes in this industry. You got to do that. So there's one. If you're a purchasing manager, in the industry, and I've talked to many, you are getting inundated from brands and vendors and wholesalers that want to show you their product and showcase your product. It's a lot to manage for a human, especially without tools beyond Excel and some reporting on there. What's some of your advice around that?
There's a lot there. You're opening Pandora's box, but it's good because it's an important thing. And if you don't bring those products to market and they don't hit your shelves, then you can't sell them and you don't have customers. So it's a necessary evil, let's call it, or it's just a part of doing business. Now, in my former life in baking, like we would buy millions of dollars of raw materials for our bakeries. We had like 5 distributors, right, that we worked with. Like those trucks would come into the dock and off would come the butter and off would come the sugar and off would come the baking powder and the vanilla extract and all of the different things. And I had one bill, right? I had one bill from that company and I had one sales rep to work with and he represented all of those things. And now, again, that's a mature supply chain. It's a legal market, federally legal market. Like there's things, there's assumptions here. So I don't want to like make it sound like it's easy, but recognize whether you're a brand or you're a retailer, like less is more, guys. Like, if you're a grower, be the best grower, like grow the best products. If you're a brand, make the best products, do the best marketing, like get your name out there, whatever. Stop running your shit all over the place and hand delivering it in your car and whatever. Like pick up the phone, get on Zoom, get on a podcast, get on How to Flourish in Cannabis. Like everybody insists on like, I gotta like shake hands and it's the relationship's important, but guess what? Like we're no longer illegally selling drugs and like sliding, $100 bills to each other. Like we're now in legal markets in our respective states, work with each other. Like if you don't have distribution yet, work with another brand and like deliver your stuff together on the same truck, like, or on the same car. Make it that much easier. You can still have a great relationship. You can still take your buyer out for dinner or for drinks or do whatever, or have that phone call, but you don't need to do all those things. If you're a retailer, you're really in the position to affect the most change, in my opinion. In Oregon, we know this through our technology. In Oregon, the average retailer in 2023 received 47 manifests a month.
That's a lot.
And dude, I'll tell you, the worst offenders are in the hundreds. So they've got hundreds of manifests. Now, don't forget too, one of those manifests might have multiple invoices on it. I won't name names. There's another distributor in Oregon. They do great work. You might have 15 invoices that are bundled on that one manifest and that one delivery. So you've got 47 different deliveries coming through on a 30-day period, 22 business days, or if you're open 7 days, a 30-day period, you've got 47 incoming deliveries. If you're that retailer, like you're really in a position to affect this change and make it better for everybody, yourself first and foremost, and then downstream. So there's environmental impact, there's sustainability here. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about, but let's just talk about your bottom line, right? The idea of this show and the profit therein. If you insist that you have less deliveries coming in, that means first and foremost, you can focus on what is the most important thing for a retailer, right? It's your customer's experience. It's when they walk in the door, are they greeted? What do they have to see when they look on the shelf? Is it well stocked? Do you have friendly staff? Do you have the products you need? Let's focus on that, right? The back of the house, the intake, yes, it's it's part of doing business, but that should not consume as much time and as much cycles as it is. And when you allow anybody to come anytime they want and everybody to deliver one case here and 5 cases there, and this comes on Sunday and that comes on Tuesday, open, close, etc., you're asking for a nightmare.
So helping to really just simplify and batch those things out. We're doing deliveries on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Fridays, or whatever days that you work with, and just kind of go with that.
And here it is. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Brand, we love your products. We buy through a distributor. I want to buy your products through that distributor so that I get one delivery from one person, one intake, one invoice to pay, etc. You can do that. You can insist on that as a retailer if there's a known distributor in your area. And I know some of you guys are in new markets and maybe they don't have that yet, but work on that. Like be advocates for that, right? Consolidate your vendors, get it down to be reasonable, look towards one bill. that'll make a huge difference for you. Believe me.
And you might not be necessarily paying more margin for that. It's the brand has to have, a person that's not having to run around and do all the deliveries and do all those things.
Oh my gosh. Oh, 100. Yeah, no, I don't. I think it's net neutral. Like I don't think that you pay more. You may even pay less.
Just more efficient out there. And even if they're a pre-distributor model for whatever state that you're in, just trying to batch those out of, we do deliveries on certain days. I can focus on these on certain days. And that way you're block tackling your schedule to being like, we're looking at what sell-through is. We're looking at different categories of what we're loose on here, and then ordering those, for replenishment, and just being mindful of what you're overstocked of.
One of my favorite quotes, right, is like, you deserve what you put up with. If you're not strict and regimented around when you accept deliveries and who you accept them from, and when you take showings, and when you then and you're pulling your hair out because it's just chaotic. I feel bad, but I don't feel bad. Be more disciplined with that. Train people how to treat you as a retailer. You're the customer, right? Train those brands, train those people, and have those systems, and you can see how that makes a difference.
And they'll probably appreciate you that for too. That way they can get your full attention, and you're not like dealing with 8 other things at the time that you just happen to pop in for a second. I like it. Okay, so consolidate your vendors, get an organized schedule, make this a methodical approach toward, dealing with your vendors and your inventory analysis on that. And speaking of inventory analysis, demand planning. Like that, you might have scheduled them coming around, but what are they dropping off?
Right. And I don't want to get like nerdy or techie with you guys, but you're running a retail store, and your most valuable asset is your inventory and your human resources. You have money on the shelf, whether it's it's either a liability in terms of like a net 30 invoice you have to pay, or it's money you've already spent and paid for in advance or due on delivery or whatever it is. It's now money sitting back on one of your 3 shelves or in one of your cases. I know this is sort of obvious, and many of you are like, oh yeah, well, of course, but you really need to use data to drive those decisions. And no offense to your buddy that just grew some super dank something or other and showed up and say, you have to be disciplined about what you buy, when you buy, how much you buy, and you need to use data to do it. And if you borrow, right, none of this is like rocket science. Take some pages out of other industries that are in retail. Like none of this is like reinventing the wheel here. There are demand planners. You don't have to be overly complicated with it, but like some basics of like, how much inventory do I have? What are my upcoming sales? Well, then what are my fastest moving items? And then buy accordingly. What are my best categories? Buy accordingly, and be disciplined about that, and measure and track and check variance and all of that, and watch how that impacts it. Happy Cabbage released a study at CannaCon, I think it was last year, that 68% of retailers have more than 4 weeks of inventory on the shelf.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Which, it's not hard to do. Like honestly, it's not hard. Like you overshoot it, right? You like your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You're like, hey, yeah, like give me some more cases. Or like the age old, like, well, what did I order last time? Like, oh, you got 4 cases. Oh, give me 4 more cases. Like, wait a minute. You're going into April. Like you got 420. Like order more. Or hey, you're going into it's December or whatever it might be, a slower seasonality for you, like order less. And so you can use data to do that, and you can work with partners. We've got our software Flywheel. Casa is out there, does a great job. If you want to use a headset or a BDSA or a pistol or a hoodie, like those are all options for you. All of them have pros and cons. I encourage you to do your homework with it, but you got to use that data.
Even at a rudimentary level, just looking at something like a sell-through report and seeing how much inventory that you have on hand, what is your, order to cash, balance on those items, which ones are rolling, which ones are not, category level, but also in a very product and price point level as well. Because you could have your premium, ultra tier, amazing flower, you got your mids, and then you got your value brands that are right there. And each of those has different margins, but each of those have different sell-throughs as well. And when you're buying for that category of where those fit within your price makeup of what your customers are buying. Could be a fantastic product, but it might be in the wrong market for it or a wrong time of year.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. For sure. I know Flourish has a lot of great point of sale reports that are available. A lot of the point of sale systems have great reporting. Sometimes what we find is you have to bring several of those reports together and we see a lot of this. Like a lot of times, some of these retailers, especially multi-chain retailers that have several stores, they got to download the report here, download this report, go to this store, download this one, and then they've got to like duct tape it together with some Excel gymnastics and some other stuff. And they're living like out of G sheets and all of these things. So, again, working with teams like a Flywheel or a Casa, they can really help you save time, put it together on one pane of glass for you to have that, like you led off with the start of the show, like data driven insights. So you kind of take the guesswork out and allow you to make, good decisions around running your business.
Yep. And you're going to see a variety of reports and POSs more, some are better than others, but like, especially when you're dealing with a very focused subject matter, the focus software is always going to have a lot more actionable insights, and it just takes a bit to bring these things to this industry. So, all right, cool. Okay, so demand planning. If you don't have anything right now, just work on your sell-through reports, and if you don't have them, get a POS that actually does.
Reach out to your point of sale partners, their support teams, like their customer success managers. Like there's resources out there, but you got to be loud, right, about it. You got to ask for help.
In hiring somebody who really knows how to do that demand planning, or whether it's in-house or whether it's a shared consultant that might be an expert in this area that can actually take those reports and do dances with that, because they will definitely pay for themselves in sitting inventory costs right there. Or as a third, there's some cool software that's coming out that actually is catered toward the cannabis industry to be able to elevate to that as well, like a Casa or like you guys at Flywheel. So those are your 3 levels of actionable items right there. Here's a one that's tough. Budget discipline for buyers. If you're a buyer and you want to like get stuff in there, one of your worst things is potentially not having enough stuff or the right stuff when it comes down to do this. So just being a disciplined buyer. Can you talk about some of those other issues there, like that you see with operators that you work with?
Like 1.7 times the amount of inventory needed, on hand. So you've got that 68% are overstocked, and then the amount of overstock is like 175%, like too much inventory, like that you need. And what you don't realize is like how negatively that will impact and affect you over time. Like it's a compounding thing, and it has all this downstream effect. If you have too much inventory and you can't pay that net 30 invoice, now that brand struggles, right? So because they're waiting for that. And so you have these cascading effects. So being more disciplined around having, like, you got to have a budget, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to determine, well, what is that accurate budget? But look up Open to Buy. It's a method of like how to do demand planning, and it's specifically around the budgeting process. It's a fantastic way to do it. And if, like you said, if you hire somebody that has a little bit of retail buying, retail demand planning experience, they'll know that term. But get the budget, have it broken down by your categories, because you don't want to, like, and this happens a lot because like a lot of cannabis dispensaries and retail owners are like, they're super passionate, like they love cannabis, they love the product, that's why they own a store, like. And they may have a favorite category. Like, I just love my tinctures. Like, it's awesome. But it's like, it represents like 2% of your business. Like, you got to like know your numbers. So you don't need, when your buddy comes in with that great tincture drop, you can't overspend in that category, because then, you're going to run yourself into cash flow problems and things like that.
So there's an element of human bias here, whether it's individual preferences, excitement for the industry, possible friendships and relationships, out there. It's just like setting a budget and then sticking to that based upon what your store sales look like and where you want to take this. You're not going to get it 100 right. You're not going to nail it, but you manage what you measure. So even just putting an eye on these things will help right align those. So
yeah, start somewhere. And it's like, look at, sometimes you can do like there's different, I'm not a financial analyst or a wizard in that regard, but like if you talk to your tax accountant, you talk to your bookkeeper or whatever, like they may have a suggestion around, well, what did we spend last month on product? All right, well, let's try to cut that by this amount, and there's forecasting tools that are available out there. Like some of this stuff is really pretty advanced in terms of like, this is what we think sales will be. Look at last year's sales. You're going into 420. What are those needs? And then try to purchase accordingly.
It almost strikes me like this is a bifurcated problem, because you're going to have the person that you might put in front of buying is somebody who has a broad breadth of cannabis experience, knows what those products are, has certain preferences for those, might, have relationships with certain brands or whatever else. And then on the other side, there's more the analytical side, the more, quantitative side of like, we need a one-to-one gummy at this price point. We need some really high-end flower that we could push, at this price point, and being able to fill those gaps, to have a product set that services the customers that are there. Those seems like almost two very distinct roles. If you can find one person to do those, you're a very lucky dispensary operator. But maybe even splitting up some of those things, so you can take away some of the bias between one person.
Yeah, I mean, create a steering committee, or create a committee that can take a look at it and know your competition, know what the guys in your area are selling and where the gaps might be, where those category gaps might be. We do that with our customers, where we'll look at county level data. Like, this is what the county is selling at categorically, and then this is how you match up to that. And where might you be underrepresented in a category or overrepresented, kind of out of balance? And then how do you capitalizing on those opportunities? So again, you can be a B Corp, or you can be, a conscious capital. Like, it's not all about making money, but you want to run a responsible business so you can stay in business and keep servicing your customers and take good care of your employees and do all the good things that you want to do.
At the end of the day, you gotta stay in business to do your business. So it's as simple as that. That's why we're having all these guests on the show to like, hey, how can we help you stay in business? So we do have a promise that we do ask the audience. If you are watching this, my only ask, no payment, no nothing. I just need you to subscribe. Leave a comment, shoot a like. If there's any future inventory management, dispensary discussions, or any other topics whatsoever you guys want to see, put those in the comments. It really helps the metrics. We're doing this here for a pretty good benefit to like give education awareness. There's no sponsorships on these shows. We just really want you to like us. So if we're not doing a good job, let us know. If we are doing a good job, please support us. We appreciate that. Tim, we have one last topic here. How do we focus on our top performers? How do we know what those are?
There's almost all the point of sale systems, at least I think the great ones out there, have something called an ABC analysis or ABC reporting. And it'll look at your sales and your sell-through, and it'll rank your items and tell you what are your A items, what are your Bs and your Cs. And your A's are essentially the items that have the best sell-through, that have the best gross margins, that have the best volume. And those are the things that are really driving your business and putting money into your cash register and into your bank account, and so you can pay your bills and do all the things. And buy more inventory. So if you do nothing else, like, find out what your best selling items are and buy more of those things. Make sure you never run out of stock of those things.
But not too much, but you always have to have those because they're going to sell.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously don't just buy more willy-nilly, but like don't stock out of those things. We see that happen where they're like, well, we're just trying to, we're sort of treating all things equal, like, and just, making sure we just order stuff. Focus on those items that really do they're your bread and butter, and make sure they're in the right spot in your dispensary, on the right shelves, in the right places. And I know you want to cater to people's needs and stuff, but make good recommendations to people, but also steer them into, if they're selling well, it's because other people enjoy them and the other people find value in them. Direct them in that way, right? And then find those items that are dogs, that are your Cs, mark those down, get them out of there, right? Clear up some room, clear up some, cash flow. Get some cash flow into the business, and you'll see it make a huge difference for you.
I like that. It's extra complicated, more of a seasonal store, but like if you're in a short town or vacation resort or whatever else, but you're still going to get that cadence that's going on, which what works here is great. There's going to be some perennial winners, probably like wild gummies or whatever else. Like you could sell those everywhere because they have such brand identity all over the nation. And then, yeah, there's going to be some smaller players that may work or may not work. So understand those, look for an ABC analysis, not just on volume, not just on margin, but when you tie those two together, you could really see what is very working well profitably for your store. So this is a good rundown. These are some basic things to do, which we normally think is table stakes in this industry, but it is a industry that is, it's a very much challenging industry, and we're starting up in different models all across this country and getting the right people in that have a balance of retail experience and also cannabis experience to be able to have those two worlds. These are just new. This is a new thing.
It's a budding industry, right?
Oh, I love the puns. Can't get out of this show without a pun. So just to kind of recap on everything that we had here today. So it's keeping your data clean and organized. Start from the start. Get your data clean and organized, put your costs in there, have a naming convention, put your categories in there. So 3, 6, wherever down the line, you can look at those reports. Consolidate your vendors if you can, or consolidate times that they're doing business with you so you can give them the focus that they deserve. And then you also can stay focused on your primary goal of serving the customer. Look at demand planning. There's seasonality that's involved in these things. See what your sell-through are, making sure that you have the right amount of inventory that is coming through there. Be disciplined with your budget. You know what your store sells. You know what you need to buy. Find that. And then also focus on your top performers, seeing what you need to buy and making sure that you have enough of those winners in stock, but you also get out the losers and don't reorder those again. That's our top 5 for today. Sage advice from an industry technologist. Again, we always appreciate your subscribes, likes, and saves. Tim, thank you for being here. How can listeners follow up with you and what you guys are doing at Flywheel as well?
Brian, it's been an honor. It's been fun. The time flew by here. You can find us at 240logistics.com or our product website at flywheel240.com. On most of the socials channels. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tim Schmitt, SCHMITT. Love to connect with you. Love to help you out. Love to point you in the right direction and be supportive.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the service to elevate and educate our industry today. And yeah, we're definitely looking forward to seeing where this goes in the future. But I know this tech can really help overstressed operators out, and the ROI on it is far beyond anything that you'll spend on it immediately. So it's pretty much a slam dunk right there. But Tim, thank you for joining today.
Thanks, Brian. Take care.